Have you ever wondered if the Assassin's Creed game is historically accurate and if it can teach or help someone understand history? Assassin's Creed is an action-adventure stealth video game which was developed by Ubisoft. The game series is centered around the Brotherhood of Assassins, and there are currently 11 games within this series. In each game, you play a fictional character who is inside the Animus, which gives a person memories from their ancestors that they get to relive. Each game tells a different story, and there are only a few connected to each other, but they all have their own time period and location. While the Assassin's Creed game's time periods and historical settings are actually derived from real historical facts, the game still is a work of fiction. The way most of the maps and cities are set up are accurate, along with the different buildings throughout all the cities. There are also people within the games that were real, and so were some of their deaths. The game is based off of an organization called the Hassasins, which is Arabic and Persian for assassins. They originated in 1904 in Syria under the leadership of Hassan as-Sabah in order to defeat his enemies among the religious and political unrest in the Holy Lands. He later began using espionage and assassination to gain political foothold and eliminate key targets. While much of the historical information in the original Assassin's Creed is pretty accurate, there are big differences between the real-world Hassasins and the Assassin's Brotherhood. They really did their research on history all over the world, and at first they created the Brotherhood of Assassins, which was a spin-off of the Hassasins. Then each of the other stories are based off some sort of real history but modified to fit how the creators want the story to be. On YouTube, Ubisoft has a channel with videos about Assassin's Creed real history throughout some of the games. These videos describe a few of the different games and what parts of the game are historically accurate. For example, in the video called Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, The Real History of Renaissance Rome, they teach us about some of the real history of Renaissance Rome.
Let's start with the most colossal monument in Rome, the Flavian Amphitheater. You probably know it better by its nickname, the Colosseum. Construction on the Colosseum began in 72 CE under Emperor Vespasian as a way to appease the Roman public. To separate himself from his hated, self-obsessed predecessor Nero, Vespasian built the amphitheater directly on top of Nero's personal man-made lake. Oddly enough, we have Nero to thank for the building's famous nickname. While Vespasian was comfortable tearing down Nero's lake, he wasn't about to destroy the colossal statue of him erected nearby. When it became necessary to start differentiating between amphitheaters, Romans quickly began referring to the Flavian Amphitheater as the one near the Colossus, and thus, the Colosseum was born. In ancient monuments in Rome, look no further than the Pantheon. Originally constructed in 72 BCE by Marcus Agrippa, Emperor Augustus's right-hand man, the current iteration of the building was constructed under Emperor Hadrian's rule in 125 CE.
After the creation of Assassin's Creed Origins, Ubisoft's game developers created a Discovery Tour by Assassin's Creed. This is an educational mode that is just a tour of ancient Egypt. In this dedicated mode, players can free roam the entire interactive 3D recreation of ancient Egypt in Assassin's Creed Origins, free of combat, storyline, or time constraints. From Alexandria to Memphis, the Nile Delta to the Great Sand Sea, the Giza Plateau to the Fayum Oasis, players can immerse themselves in the rich history of the region. There is no actual narrative for this mode of Assassin's Creed Origins. It's purely just to be able to see the architecture of ancient Egypt and see how life was during this time. Jean Guzdan, the creative director of Assassin's Creed Origins, during a preview event said, "History is core to our franchise. We do a lot of research and spend a lot of time recreating these worlds. We have an encyclopedia in the game. We have received good, positive feedback from teachers about the quality of our work and how they use the games to craft their material." Another YouTuber named Did You Know Gaming makes videos about different things you may or may not know about all the different types of video games. On December 28, 2014, he made a video about the history of Assassin's Creed. We learn that many of the main characters were real people and they made them die on the same dates that they did in real life. Assassin's Creed 3's creative director Alex Hutchinson had said in an interview with Penny Arcade, "We have a rule, everyone dies in the right year and they die in the right place at the right time." However, there are a few instances where a couple of characters didn't die exactly at the right time. For example, General Charles Lee was killed in New Jersey in Assassin's Creed 3 but died in Philadelphia in the real world. In another interview, Alex had also said, "It's super difficult this period because no one famous dies. None of the founding fathers die, all of the generals of the British Army die of old age in England. Only poor people die." A lot of research that went on for developing this game showed that there were a lot of crime and people died from participating in shady activities going on, and they used this to fill the game with accurate assassination targets. After looking deeper into the history of the Assassin's Creed video game series and comparing the stories you get to play to historical facts, I think that Assassin's Creed does teach quite a bit of history, and it could be used to help students understand what life was like in certain time periods. Of course, the history isn't all 100% accurate, but the team that did the research behind the creation of Assassin's Creed tried to make it as historically accurate as possible, but all while still creating a video game with a playable storyline. Assassin's Creed wasn't originally created for educational purposes, but it has ended up being used in some cases. Assassin's Creed couldn't be used to just teach history without any context, but it definitely could be used to help show and explain certain things that went on in the different time periods.